Hi, welcome back to the TA for non-TA series. If you've already viewed our earlier videos, you'd be familiar with the ego state models in transactional analysis. If you'd like to understand your own personality on a deeper level and find out reasons why you may behave the way you do, then keep watching the video. We are about to unravel deeper insights into a personality. Today, we'll take a look at Eric Berne's functional analysis of ego states and understand everything you need to know about transactions. This is the 6th of the TA for non-TA series. But before you proceed further, click the subscribe button to our channel to receive updates on the next video. Our thinking and behavior are related to our growing up years. You imbibe many things from the surroundings and reflect the same behaviors in the adult years. You may operate from parent, child, or adult state. This is dependent upon your awareness levels. The results you create in your life are solely dependent on your thinking, feeling, and actions. This video gives you the chance to understand yourself better. This time, we take a look at the detailed versions of the ego state model. Ego states are further detailed as per the structure and function. Structure. This is the what of the functional model. This indicates the content of the ego state. This refers to events, memories, emotions, values, and beliefs absorbed from the culture, environment, and family system. Function, the how of the functional model. This indicates the process of the ego state. Take a look at this diagram now. This describes the functional model. I'll simplify it for you. The child state may belong to the adapted child or the free child. There's also the controlling parent and the nurturing parent, as seen in the diagram. Sounds confusing? No, not really. Let's listen to the story of little Ted and understand the adapted child ego state. Ted was raised by his parents. He knew he had to listen to his parents, as what they said was always good for him. A polite and sweet child, Ted was courteous to his neighbors, although he was annoyed by the kid who stayed with them. She was named Joy. Ted also noticed his father didn't like him to be too noisy around the house. His mom always wanted to see him successful at everything. So, even when he wanted to run around the house, or sometimes display a laid-back attitude toward homework, Ted couldn't behave the way he wanted to. Yet, there were days when Ted annoyed the neighbor's kid, Joy, a lot, although he knew behaving badly was not right. Or, he even sulked a bit when he was tired of being the good boy to his mother. Ted was all grown up now. He often replayed his behavior patterns to fit in as per his parents' expectations. Most often, in this case, Ted is still in the adapted child ego state. So, what is the free child ego state? There were times when Ted behaved exactly how he would like to. He was suspended from the thought to comply with his parents' expectations, nor did he rebel against their wishes. He did some things he wanted to, such as playing in the garden or learning a new hobby, because he wanted to. As a grown-up, there were times when Ted threw caution to the wind and went off on a long journey as a part of his self-care routine. Ted here displays the free child ego state. There's more to this. What's interesting to note is the positive and the negative adapted child ego state. If you may have observed yourself, you may reflect many patterns of the adapted child. You follow all the rules necessary to live in society. You don't think consciously when you mind your manners, as you've been taught this since childhood days. A positive adapted child is one where you are displaying productive ways of behavior that are derived from the adapted child ego state. Your behaviors are in flow with others, and you display rule-following patterns. However, if you display patterns that are inappropriate in your grown-up situations, you are said to be in a negative adapted child ego state. If Ted was used to sulking like a child to get the attention he wanted from his parents, and if he displays the same behavior to get what he wants in this adult state, he is in the negative adapted child ego state. What's interesting is the child ego state can take a rebellious turn. There were times when Ted rebelled in his adult life. He wasn't even aware of it. One day, when he was asked to pick up the groceries, he conveyed he didn't have enough time. Although Ted did have the time, he displayed rebellion that was reminiscent to his rebellion enacted in childhood. Perhaps he rebelled by refusing to do what his mother said when he was often in the adapted child ego state. He replayed the same behavior now. Ted had been in the negative adapted child ego state for a long time, and rebellion was displayed in the form of fight or flight. In the same manner, we also have a positive and negative free child behavior. A child who learns to express himself freely without relying on parental rules or limits is displaying the positive free child behavior. Here, he can express his sadness or desire without worrying about it being inappropriate. He does not bottle up his emotions. A person who behaves inappropriately in a public gathering or displays a lack of social etiquette at an office party is often in a free child behavior that inclines towards the negative side. This disturbs the equilibrium of the system. Did you know we can display more ego states than these? It's interesting to note that we can also display the controlling parent and the nurturing parent. Let's say Ted was often asked to do things as a child. His mother said, "Ted, go brush your hair," or "Ted, you are too lazy." This sense of control is often displayed by Ted as a grown-up when he dictates to his colleague, "Go complete this task for me." This state is termed as the controlling parent. Let's understand one more state. Ted was often cuddled as a child, or his father pampered him and comforted him always. When Ted replays these behaviors as an adult, he is said to be in nurturing parent. For example, he may display care towards his colleagues and friends. But there's more to the controlling and nurturing parent. This can also be positive or negative. Let's understand this better. Little Ted has been told, "You must not smoke," or "You need to study well." This is a display of positive controlling parent. The objective here is aimed at the well-being of Ted. Yet, when Ted's parents say, "Oh, Ted, you've goofed up again, you can never do anything right," this is a negative controlling parent. Ted may grow up and display the same habit when he growls at his team member and says, "You can never do anything right." Can you relate with the thought patterns in your behavior at work or at home? Let's understand the positive and negative nurturing parent. The nurturing side in a person is seen when a grown-up Ted says to his team member, "Hey, do you need help on this assignment? Let me see how we can work together to complete it." Ted is in a positive nurturing parent state. If Ted had to say, "Hey, let me complete it for you. I think I had better give it my touches," Ted is in a negative nurturing parent. Do you see what's happening here? Now that you've understood the complexities of the ego states, think about how you've been displaying the various types of controlling and nurturing parent types, and a free child and adapted child type. If you're with me so far, you've understood functional analysis. That's great! Let's understand all about transactions and their types. Ted is now an adult and is seated in a room. A colleague walks in and greets him with a hello. He offers a greeting too. This is a transaction. Byrne referred to the transaction as the basic unit of social discourse. A transaction takes place when communication is offered and a reply is received. The conversation with Ted and his colleague tends to get longer, with more sentences being exchanged. This is termed as a chain of transactions. If we analyze transactions, there's a whole different type of communication happening here. Let's take a look at complementary transactions. Let's say Ted asks the question, "What time do we take a break?" He gets a response, "At 1 p.m. This is a complementary transaction when both sides respond in the same adult ego state. There can be a shift of ego states as well. Let's understand the first rule of communication. Ted may ask his team member with a frown, "Why are you late today?" The colleague may feel scared and reply in a child ego state, "I'm sorry, I won't be late again." Complementary transactions have an expectedness about it. It means you receive the information as expected about the question. The conversation may have a chain of transactions. These will all have a predictable feel to it. However, transactions can be crossed transactions as well. Ted may ask his colleague, "Why are you late?" The colleague may reply, "It's none of your business. Don't trouble me again." Ted did not receive a response in the adult ego state. This happens when the response is not received in the ego state that is addressed for the said transaction. Transactions can also happen between controlling parent and nurturing parent states, which is why there is a second rule of communication. This means when a transaction is crossed, there is a break in the communication as there are different ego states here. One or both of the individuals need to shift their ego states to re-establish their communication. Another interesting type of transaction is the ulterior transaction. Ted asks his colleague with a firm voice, "Where did you store my files?" The colleague replies, "It's in the same place, in the cabinet drawer." You might think this is a simple transaction. This does appear as an adult-to-adult complementary transaction, but do note this appears so at a social level. What happens at the psychological level? The message might be that Ted feels his colleague is messing up with his things. The colleague may feel distressed as he feels Ted is doubting his skills. In this ulterior transaction, there is a message at the social level and one on the psychological level. Byrne also mentions about the third rule of communication. He writes, this is about a communication that happens at two levels. What happens is the outcome of the secret messages. To understand this better, simply observe how you communicate and note behaviors. Be aware of the social and psychological levels. There's more to transactions though. You can say so much is happening in the verbal and nonverbal transactions as well. The nonverbal clues are all there for you to understand secret messages. Here's a tip. Observe the voice tones, gestures, postures, and facial expressions. You can interpret a lot about people and also work on using transactional analysis for your personal development. Before we end our video, do view your key takeaways. 1. No transactions are good or bad. Keep a parallel transaction for a smooth flow of communication. 2. Sometimes you may have to get the other person out of their ego state. You may even have to change your ego state. You may have to do both. 3. You always have the option of getting out of an uncomfortable set of transactions from any of the 5 functional ego state parts. 4. Practice transactions with positive ego state parts. Use the adult ego state for cross transactions. Loved the concept? Stay tuned for the next chapter in the TA for non-TA video series based on injunctions. Did you know you can learn TA to use its concepts and be coached to be a winner for life? After all, it's all about the power of your mind. Meet Dr. Paras, an award-winning life leadership coach, coach supervisor, author, trainer, and speaker. Find out how you can give your personality a boost with his coaching and training programs. Learn effective methods to improve self-confidence, communication, conflict management, and be trained towards excellence. Dr. Paras also provides counseling and healing services with his team of mental strength professionals to build stronger minds. Visit www.matrix.in. Say hello to Dr. Paras on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or visit his website at www.matrix.in. Dr. Paras Wellness Private Limited is aimed to inspire self, empower others, and transform generations through their thinking, feelings, and actions.